This is the Para Cave podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leagues Club, and co-sponsors Bo Cook from Loan Market, Scott from Brightside Detailing and Ceramics, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, the official clothing partner of the Para Cave podcast, and the official media partner of the Para Cave podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Para Cave podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Para Cave.
And yes, welcome back to the Para Cave podcast, listeners. And Troy Warner here once again with the Gameday preview podcast. And this week it is round 13 in the NRL, and it sees the Parramatta Eels take on the North Queensland Cowboys at Commbank Stadium at 8 p.m. tonight. And this podcast is the Gameday preview podcast, and where I try and get celebrity fans of other teams who's playing the Parramatta Eels, with myself being an Eels fan, and we sort of chew the fat about the game. We give the views of the fans. We give a fan's view of what we think is going to happen during the game. We also ask a couple of other little questions about their support for their team. So this week, as I said, it's Jimmy from the Cast Patrol podcast, which you'll find on Instagram as well as YouTube as well, so please subscribe to that. They put out some great content. Last week we had Age from the Cast Patrol, who is a South Sydney supporter. This week Jimmy, who is a Cowboys supporter. So 2/3 of the Cast Patrol we've had on so far in the Game Day previews. But please subscribe to their channels on YouTube and also on the audio on Apple and Spotify. They put out some great stuff. So, without further ado, let's get into this preview, and I will hand over to myself for the preview of the North Queensland Cowboys versus the Parramatta Eels at Commbank Stadium. And yes, welcome back to the Para Cave podcast, and this is the third Game Day preview I have started up doing as part of the podcast each week now. And this week the Parramatta Eels take on the North Queensland Cowboys at Commbank Stadium Friday night, the 26th of May, 8 p.m. And I've got another special guest on the podcast today to preview that game for me. Massive North Queensland Cowboys fan, and like last week, I've got another third of the Cast Patrol podcast. This time I've got Jimmy from the Cast Patrol. How you going, mate?
Yeah, good, thanks, Troy. I'm excited to be here. I love the work that you're doing with Parramatta, and excited to be here, and can't wait.
Not a problem, no. And likewise, you guys are doing some great stuff as well in the rugby league and racing space, and we'll see if your team can get over my team, unlike Age's team last week.
Yeah, I think the few of the boys, Mick and Age were pretty filthy last week. That Para beat them, but bit of momentum for you boys. So I'm not fairly confident going into this week, but you never know.
That's it. Well, just before we get into a quick little preview, how did you end up supporting the North Queensland Cowboys?
Yeah, so when I was younger, I think I was about 5 or 6, I was just watching the footy, and it was, funnily enough, it was the Cowboys who were playing, and I saw Matty Bowen and JT doing their thing, and then just loved them ever since. So that's sort of how I became a Cowboys fan. It's been sort of a rough patch, some would say. Obviously, other than the grand final in 2015, but since then it's been a bit quiet. But I love the Cowboys, and been a crazy fan since I was young.
And just quickly, any favourite Cowboy games that stand out for you? I mean, obviously, other than the 2015 Grand Final, because obviously that'd be the top echelon of games.
Yeah, well, 2015 Grand Final, yeah, like that was, yeah, you can't sort of go past it. I think 2017 when we lost JT and sort of that run that we got towards the Grand Final, beating the Roosters, and obviously we went down to Melbourne in the Grand Final, but I thought, yeah, I mean, that season after JT went down, everyone was, sort of gave us the flick sort of thing that we were no chance, but yeah, Morgs sort of put the team on his back and carried us through. But yeah, that was a great season, I thought, from the boys.
Yeah, for sure. Now, for me being a Parramatta supporter, I know there's been a couple of losses that to the Cowboys that I've been most disappointed about, and there's a couple that stick out. There was the very early on, 1998 at Parramatta Stadium, a 16-15 victory to the Cowboys. Jason Ferris kicked the field goal that day. And in that 2015 season, the 36-30 loss at Parramatta Stadium, and I'm sure you quite remember that one quite vividly. That was the night Gavin Cooper was on fire, and three tries in about 5 minutes, I think.
Yeah, that was a crazy comeback. I mean, I thought we were shot for all money, and then JT and Gavin Cooper, that lethal left edge that they had for so long. Yeah, that comeback was insane, like you said. So yeah, that was a good win over you boys for sure.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, let's get into Friday night's game, 2023, round 13 of the NRL. Now, both teams have probably not been going as well as what they did in 2022. They're both on 5 wins for the season, 7 losses. Going into this game, obviously it's Origin season as well, so the Cowboys have got 4 players out, and Parramatta's got Junior Paolo out for New South Wales. So they're a little bit under strength both sides. Parramatta's got a lot of injuries, particularly in the forwards. They don't have a grand final starting on Friday night, so it's a completely different pack. Let's start off with where do you think the game's going to be won for the Cowboys?
I think it's just our defence. I think that's been the biggest, issue this season. I mean, last year we thrived on, winning games off our defence. And for whatever reason this year, that hasn't been the case. So I think we got to start well. Some games we've really started quite slow, and like last week against the Tigers, we let 3 tries in about 10-15 minutes, and it was you blink, it's 18-0 against the Tigers, and then that was pretty much game over. So I think that start's important for us. Just getting our defence right and just holding the footy. Too many errors, too many missed tackles in our game, and just getting that discipline right. I think that's hopefully where we can get that edge over the Parramatta Eels.
How much a loss of the Origin players for the Cowboys do you think is going to impact on the game?
Huge. I mean, especially that left edge, obviously with Holmes and Talangi. That's that lethal left edge. That's 2 massive gaps, and then Dearden. Look, I'm a bit filthy at Slater that he picked him as 18th man, so he can't play this week. But look, Benny Hampton's played plenty of NRL and he's filled in a fair few times for us, so I'm sure he'll do a job. And then obviously Ruben Cotter in the middle. That's a huge loss. We're already pretty thin on in the forwards at the moment, so to lose Cotter to Origin isn't ideal. But look, Taumalolo's been named on the extended, so hopefully he can come back. And Griffin Neame, Big Griff's having a good year, so it's good to see him back on the bench as well. So yeah.
Who do you think from Parramatta are the danger players that the Cowboys need to look out for?
Oh, I think Dylan Brown is definitely one. There was a bit of criticism, early on in the season that he's got to run the ball a bit more. And, I think the last sort of 2-3 weeks we've seen that, and, we've seen how damaging he is as a ball runner. That halves combination, Brown, Moses, they've been on fire at different times this year. Gutho, obviously, but they strike all around the park. Even you look at the forward pack, Jermaine Hopgood probably wasn't far away from a Queensland jumper as well, and Joel Gowie just
Yeah.
come straight into the scene, obviously to replace Junior Polo. So, and Remy Greg, one of the Cowboys players as well. He's playing good footy. So, no, they strike all around the park, and I think that's where it's. I think the Cowboys will, get our defence right for sure, especially on the edges where Para are dangerous.
Well, just looking at the two sides, I think probably the Parramatta side has got the Cowboys covered in the backs, but I think the Cowboys have got the Eels covered more in the forwards. As I said just before, there's no starting forward from the grand final in 2022 in this game, so it's a completely different forward pack and a relatively inexperienced forward pack as well.
Yeah, and 100%. Rumu Greg, like we said, we spoke about him. He's obviously come in with Regan Campbell, but I think he's playing, great footy. Often Gowie, like we said, he comes in, he's got plenty of experience, and Cartwright, Dury Hopwood, they're all playing good footy. But yeah, look, we still have a pretty strong pack. McLean, Robson, Hess, Luciano Leilua, Lukey, Jackie Granville at lock. So yeah, I think that's where it's probably going to be one, in that middle, that go forward. So yeah, I think it'll be a good battle up front Friday night for sure.
Is there a position that Jake Granville hasn't played yet in the forwards?
Oh mate, he's
Mr. Versatile.
Yeah, I think he's played pretty much everywhere for us. So yeah, it's good to have someone like Jackie Granville in the team. Obviously, he fills a lot of positions. So yeah, it's I don't think there's a position he hasn't played yet, so it's good.
That's it. I think with obviously Parramatta, I think maybe, do you think they will target the two new debutants for the Cowboys?
Oh, 100%. Zachy Laybud and Robert Darby. So yeah, obviously Zachy Laybud will play left centre for Holmes. Penasini's having a great year, I'm sure. Give him that early ball. They will really try and test him out. And then I'm sure Moses will be putting a few bombs up to poor Robert Darby on the wing there. But look, they're good young players. They've been playing good footy in Q Cup. So I'm excited to see how they go this week.
Do you think also too the Cowboys, they stayed down in Sydney for a bit of a camp? Do you think that's going to be a little bit of an advantage, having a bit more of a connection with each other? Do you think?
I think so. After last week, we couldn't possibly go any worse than what we did last week. So I'm sure, staying in Sydney for the full week, it would be a help, and obviously building up that team morale. So yeah, it's really hard to sort of gauge where the Cows are at, after winning 2 in a row. I thought, against the Tigers last week, if we can get 3, build that sort of momentum, and obviously we lost to the Tigers, so I'm not really sure where we're at this season. So I think this week's a massive test for us to see where we're at.
Well, if you sort of look at it, the Cowboys are sort of a bit more in form than the Eels, because the Cows have won 3 out of the last 5 and Parramatta's only won the last 2 out of the last 5, but they still sit on 5 wins each. So if you look over at the last sort of month and a bit, the Cowboys have been the form team out of these two.
Yeah, that's right. And I think just with how close the season is, it's I guess it's not a bad thing, sort of where we're sitting at the moment. It's not the end of the world. We're only 1 or 2 wins away still from the 8. Considering, like you said, even Parramatta and how bad they're going as well this year, with the 5 wins, we're still not far away from the 8, which is, I guess, a positive sign.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think, I know it's only a round game and not everyone is playing, but do you think last year's prelim final loss is going to play any part in this game in motivation, even though it's just a normal sort of round game?
Yeah, I think there'll be a bit of feeling to it. Obviously, you boys beat us and sent us packing last season. I think there'll definitely be a lot of feeling. It would have been good if we had, obviously, both teams were full strength, but yeah, I'm sure it'll still be a great game, and can't wait for it on Friday night.
Are you heading out there on Friday night?
No, I don't think I won't be there, unfortunately. But I'll be at home, and yeah, I'll be cheering the boys on for sure. How about yourself? You heading down?
Yeah, definitely. I'll be there. Love my games at Commbank Stadium. So yeah, I know I'll be there for sure, 100%. So, I saw on your Instagram, the Cast Patrol Instagram today, Mike Acevo, 14 tries in his last 14 games at Commbank.
Yeah, loves it, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think it's some ridiculous figure like 42 out of 42 games or something like that.
Yeah.
I think he's got to be an anytime try scorer special, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he's pretty short. I think we checked I think yesterday, and I think it was about $1.35 to score. So yeah, I'm sure he'll continue that streak of tries at Commbank. But yeah, he's playing good footy, and yeah, I'm sure Kyle Felt will have his work cut out trying to stop him like every winger he opposes.
Yes, for sure. Well, speaking of try scorers, who do you think will be the first try scorer in the game?
First try scorer. Well, look, I'm hoping it's going to be one of the debutants.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that left edge for hopefully for us. But if I had to pick one for the game, maybe Bailey Simonson. He's playing good footy since he's moved at left centre. Peter Hiku, at times his defence is hasn't been great. So yeah, I'm sure they'll be targeting, and our right side defence this year's been pretty poor. So I'm sure Brad Arthur will be putting most of the attack on that right side defence. So yeah, I think one of either, if it's not Seaver, I think maybe hopefully Simonson gets over first.
Okay, well,
How about yourself? What do you reckon?
yeah, well, you read my mind. I was going to go Bailey as well. I've stuck with him for the last couple of weeks, and he's got the second try for the Eels. So
yeah, he's playing good footy, isn't he?
He has. He's the last couple of weeks and few weeks, he's sort of made that centre position his own, and a lot of people had their doubts last year with him on the wing, but I think he's found his home in the centre.
Mm. What did you think about Jake Arthur leaving the club this week?
Look, it's disappointing, obviously, but I think it's a good opportunity for him to go to Manly. A lot of that pressure will be off both Brad's, I guess, shoulders as well. Even though they're both professionals, a lot of pressure will be off him, Jake and Brad. Look, he goes to Manly, learn under DCE, and he'll still be behind, obviously, Josh Schuster and DCE as well. But he may get a couple of games during the Origin period. I mean, obviously not this week, but just being in that different environment might suit him, and yeah, he might get a first grade spot. We see Josh Schuster have the odd injury or two, so he might even slot into 5'8", or even a suggestion that he might go into that lock position as well. So
yeah, well, okay. Yeah,
he's certainly filling out a little bit, and I think there may be plans for him to go into another position. So so look forward to seeing how he goes over there.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But well, as you mentioned before, Joe Ofahengawa, he's come over to Parramatta. That's a little bit of a good mid-season get for Parramatta.
Yeah, I think 100%. I think last year he probably had his best season at the Tigers, and for whatever reason he's been out of favour this year. Obviously, with the Tigers, obviously they've got plenty of forwards. That's probably where they're stacked in the forwards. So unfortunately, for him. But I think it's a great opportunity for him to move to Para. Obviously, Regan's out, sort of the perfect replacement, sort of thing.
Do you reckon he would have brought some inside knowledge from last week across this week? And
geez, I hope not. Yeah, I hope not.
Nah. It'll be interesting, but he might even get a try or two, maybe. You never know.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed what I've seen from Brendan Hands, though, from you boys.
Yep.
For Para. I really like what he brings when he comes on, so yeah, I'm excited to see what he does.
Do you think he should have more game time than Hodjo? Not more than Hodjo, but more game time than he's getting at the moment.
Well, I think they play better when comes on. Look, not to say Hodjo's obviously, he's been a great player for the Raiders for so long, and he still is, one of the top hookers. But I feel like, I mean, at times he might sort of overplay his hand a fair bit at Parramatta. So I think, when hand sort of comes on, I think he really, just gets the ball into, Moses, Brown, Gutho's hands. That's who you want on the footy, right? So, definitely I think he should be playing a lot more footy for sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of Parramatta fans have probably, myself included at times, have said that Hodjo should go off a little bit earlier and just give Hands a bit more time. And I think the statistics show that when Hands is on the field, Parramatta score more points. So it'll be interesting how that goes.
Do you think Para, obviously they've always struggled with depth? Do you reckon that will play a part? Obviously it's a long season this year. Is that going to be an issue going forward, do you reckon?
Look, I don't think so. I think there's a few players that are coming through the grades. I'll be interested to see if Hodjo goes on next year, to be honest. I think maybe he might retire. I think having 2 knee recos and coming back at the age that he has, even though a lot of people thought that maybe that time out of the game might have refreshed him a little bit, it's still very hard to come back into NRL football, especially after those 2 injuries. So he may go into a coaching role, I guess, at the club, and another Arthur might make his name at Parramatta, young Matty Arthur. So he's coming through the grades, and so won the competition with the SG Ball guys, and has stepped up to Jersey Flag, I think. So another Arthur.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Yeah, that's it. So keep the name in the club and rise through the ranks. So they've been there pretty much all their life. They used to be ball boys at the club as well. So they know the club pretty well. So good players.
For sure.
Have you got a score prediction at all?
Oh, look, like I said, after last week, I've got no idea how we're going to go this week. It's going to be a tough game for us. Look, I think Para should win. Look, I'm not expecting, us to come out and, put a score on, or, I'm pretty low on confidence going into Friday night, but I'd love to, for the boys to come out with a win. But I think Para probably 13 plus, I'd say. I think it won't, hopefully, I don't want it to be a smashing, but I think you guys will win and win quite comfortably though, I think.
Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I think I've gone like 50-4 or something like that. So, so that's your 13 plus.
There you go.
But I don't know. I just think after last week's performance, they would have got a little bit of confidence for their season to hopefully kickstart it, and back at home as well. So
that was a big win last week against South. Because again, probably everyone thought South were just going to go and beat you boys, but that was a really good win from you guys, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So we hope to see a massive crowd out there on Friday night. The only game on Friday night in the NRL. So listeners and viewers, check out the Cast Patrol as well. Subscribe to their stuff. They do some great stuff, and they give some expert tips as well. And they're good boys, good lads. So Jimmy, thank you very much for coming on the podcast, and hopefully in a couple of weeks we can do a bit of an in-depth interview and about your support and love of rugby league and the Cowboys as well.
Yeah, for sure. No, cheers, Troy. It's been a pleasure jumping on, and it's been a lot of fun. Good luck on Friday, eh?
No worries. Thank you. Go Para.
That's it. See you guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Parramatta Podcast. See you next time.